Hi, and welcome to this episode of John's Model Kit Review. In this in-process model kit review video, we will be looking at ICM's Yak-9T. This model is ICM kit number 48012. The Yak-9 was a Soviet World War II era fighter. It was designed by the Yakovlev Design Bureau. It was recognized as one of the best Soviet fighter aircraft of the war. They competed on pretty much equal terms with the Luftwaffe aircraft. They were more simple and they were made out of non-strategic materials. There were over 30,000 of the Yak series of fighters built during World War II. Not too many people in the West are familiar with the Yak series of fighter aircraft, but they are historically significant. Unfortunately, the Yak series of fighters has been underrepresented by model kit manufacturers. And oftentimes, if you want a specific model of a Yak fighter, you will have to do a little bit of scratch building and a little bit of modification to what is essentially a more basic kit. In this model kit review, we will look at the kit instructions. We will look at the surface detailing and interior detailing of the kit. We will take a look at any mold glitches or problem areas to watch out for. We'll look at the fit of some of the major parts. We'll look at the transparencies that are included with the kit and talk about those. We'll look at the color and marking guide and the different marking options that are available with this kit. And we'll look at the decals that are included. This is really a comprehensive decal sheet, and it gives more options than any other kit I have ever built. We will take a look at the small parts that are included in this kit. As a bonus in this kit, there are a set of the True Details resin wheels for this kit, and the True Details part number is 48054. Looking at the instructions, once you decide what version of the Yak-9 you're going to build, then you can choose your options as you go through the build and your colors and markings towards the end of the build. Looking at the instructions, step 1 and 2 have you building the engine block and the engine and assembling the cannon to that. In step 3, it's more construction on the engine. If you're going to build the kit the easy way, I would recommend skipping steps 1 through 3. You can't see much of the engine with the engine covers off, and the engine does not fit well in the nose of the aircraft. In step 4, we're constructing the cockpit floor and the seat back. I would recommend thinning the seat back. It was really just an armored plate with a seat cushion attached to the front of it. Step 5 has you assembling the landing gear. These parts actually look pretty nice. The kit wheels don't look bad, but there's no real demarcation line between the wheel hub and the tire itself. Thankfully, we have the True Details wheels. These look great, and they'll really look nice on the model and really dress it up. There's a lot going on in step 6. We are closing the fuselage around the interior and around the engine itself. You shouldn't really have any problems with the interior. That should go in fine. You can see the radio that goes behind the pilot. There's a sinkhole in the top of that. If we look at the engine cover that is also mounted in step 6, it took me a lot of time to dry fit this part and kind of file it down so it fit nicely into the fuselage half here. You can see I've got it pretty close. I may tweak it a little bit more. I noticed another sinkhole at the base of the elevators. This is on both fuselage halves, so this will need to be filled with putty. If you're not displaying the engine panels open, step 6 has you cutting out the frames that go behind the engine cover, and that allows you to mount the exhaust to the engine covers and then to install them properly. This picture shows how the exhaust should look on the finished kit. They only stick out a little bit from the exhaust shroud that surrounds them. You can also see that I mounted a piece of steering rod in the upper machine gun trough just above the exhaust. Step 7 has you attaching the upper and lower wings and the ailerons and then attaching that to the fuselage. I will differ from this by attaching the upper wings to the fuselage first in order to get a good wing root fit. On the front of the lower wing, there are prominent air intakes. I used a file and a razor blade and I cut these out. This will add realism to the finished kit. Looking at the upper wing, though there is not much detail here, it's actually pretty accurate because the wing on the Yak-9 was made out of plywood. It was plywood skinned. The only thing you may want to add is the fuel gauge transparency out of a clear piece of plastic. You can see what I'm talking about here in this picture of an Accurate Miniatures Yak-1 wing. You can see the fabric detail on the rudder and the ailerons and the elevators. This isn't bad. It looks decent under a coat of paint. If you wanted to sand this a little bit and make it a little bit less prominent, it would look even more accurate. Step 8 has you attaching the armored glass behind the pilot and the gun sight and the antennas and elevators. It also has you attaching the cockpit canopy and the landing gear indicator rods on top of the wings. This step should go pretty well. The transparencies that are included in the kit aren't super clear. They're a bit on the thick side, and so I would highly recommend cleaning them up and dipping them in future prior to installing them. Step 9 has you mounting the lower radiator to the kit. It also has you installing the landing gear and landing gear covers, as well as the prop and the correct gun for the version that you're using. To me, the kit supplied prop doesn't look exactly right. I've replaced the kit props on all of the other Yak fighters that I've built from ICM. Looking at the color and marking guide here, there are 10 options included in this kit. So you want to take your time here. You want to do some research. You want to make sure that you put the correct markings on for the correct version of the aircraft that you're doing. Most of these marking options are in one of 2 different color schemes. The first one is the green and black color scheme that you see here. And the next one is in a 2-tone gray camouflage scheme that you see here. I would recommend testing these decals before using them on the actual aircraft. I've had mixed results with ICM decals before. One inaccuracy of this kit that I really need to address is the under chin oil cooler. It really doesn't look like this box art picture shows a much more rounded oil cooler inlet, and that's more representative of what it should look like. In conclusion, I for one am really happy to have a starting place from which to build a Yak-9. I like the fact that this kit has several different versions of the Yak-9 as options. This kit is not terribly difficult if you want to build it straight from the box, but with a few simple modifications, with a little bit of detail work here and there, you can really come up with a great model from this kit. Thinning the seat back, replacing the kit wheels, and replacing the kit prop will go a long way in making this a more accurate model, as will opening up the air intakes on the lower wing and correcting the shape of the oil cooler underneath the engine. I'm really looking forward to completing this build and displaying the finished Yak-9T on the shelf along with my other Soviet World War II fighters. I would recommend this one for modelers with a little bit of experience. Well, I'd love to know what you guys think. If any of you out there have built ICM's Yak-9T, please feel free to comment in the comment section below. As always, I hope you found this video entertaining and informative, and until next time, model on.